Syngenta Canada and C&M Seeds present the Wheat School on RealAgriculture.com.
Well, that's an interesting question, how farmers need to change. I often think that growers obviously know more than the rest of us as far as strategies go, but we're seeing different pests come in at different times now, and our rotations are getting pushed a little bit more. I mean, traditionally we used to have a cereal in a rotation every 3 or 4 years, and we see growers more and more going to cereal every 2 to 3 years, so there's more early disease pressure quite often in a wheat crop, in a cereal crop. And we're also seeing different pests moving in certain years. Last year in the far west of the prairies we had stripe rust that blew up, well, it blew across the mountains and also blew up from the south. Didn't get so much of that as we moved to the east, but we did get some leaf rust as well come up here into Manitoba. So it's a bit of a moving target. Every year I think you have to have a bit of a plan, but be adaptable as you see different conditions showing up and different pests moving in. Yeah, I don't think you can really plan anymore to spray by the date. That would be nice and convenient for applicators and for all of us, and life would be easy, but it's not easy really in reality, because we have different varieties that are more susceptible to different diseases. So if you're growing 2 or 3 varieties of a cereal, of a wheat on your farm, you have to understand which ones are more susceptible to tan spot or septoria early in the year, and I understand you may have to treat them, whereas you have other varieties that maybe have good resistance to tan spot or septoria, but maybe don't have the resistance to stripe rust. So if you're in Alberta and you have a variety that's MS to stripe rust, you've really got to think, as soon as you hear stripe rust moving in from the west or from the south, 30-40 miles away, try and be proactive and get that fungicide on before the rust takes effect. There certainly are. The best way to maximize the effectiveness of fungicides would be great timing and proper application techniques. And timing is, like we talked about before, is all about being on top of the crop and knowing its weaknesses, and knowing that if you could spray the fungicide a day before infection hits, that would be the best strategy of all. Of course, with thousands of acres that's hard to do, but with fungicides generally you're better to be a couple days early than a couple days late, especially with diseases such as rust, which can have a really hard effect on yield if they get 2 or 3 or 4 days up and running in a crop before you get to spray it. And as far as application goes, I don't know how many farmers are in Western Canada, but there's probably about 10,000 different ways of spraying a crop, and I think growers just need to realize the target they're trying to protect and the best way to get the product down into that canopy. Obviously, if you're spraying for flag leaf, you want to hit the flag leaf, and 2 or 3, even 4 leaves down is your target area. That's a totally different operation than when you're spraying for fusarium, when really you're concerned about both sides of that head, well, all 4 sides of the head, and then the flag leaf would be nice to hit as well. So you can hear and see that sometimes people are convinced that 15 gallons is better than 10 gallons, is better than 5 gallons by ground, and I've seen guys do good jobs at all gallons per acre, but traditionally if you're spraying a flag leaf application or a head application, 10 gallons per acre is usually preferred. I think it's really important to budget in up to 3 applications depending on the area you farm in, depending on the variety you're seeding, and depending on the conditions you get. Like we said, things change each year based on environment and the variety you've got. But you should budget in up to 3 applications. Like in the Red River Valley, guys feel like, especially on the east side, that they've pretty much got to budget in a fungicide application for fusarium. And then if leaf rust moves in, then you pretty much got to put something on at flag leaf as well. And a lot of guys are putting on half-rate fungicide with our herbicide. They're going across the field, they see some tan spot or some septoria coming into the field, so they could budget for that as well. Not to say that a great majority of growers are going at 3 times, but I think you have to be prepared in these tighter rotations that we will have to be alert and maybe spray more than we have traditionally in the past. There are some farmers who've adapted some of those 3 apps through the season like we talked about. In Europe they can spray up to 4 times. Europe's a different situation, of course. We all know that they've got mostly winter crops, and also the winter crops, the spray start growing in the spring early, could be February, could be March, and they're trying to get them all the way through to July or August. So you have a long period there. So if you put a fungicide on and it lasts 21 to 28 days, so you can see why they go 4 times. There are some guys here who, like we talked about, will spray at herbicide timing with the fungicide, and then depending on the variety and depending on the environmental conditions, they'll spray again with the flag leaf. The only problem here is that we have a short time between flag leaf and then flowering time traditionally. So if you are planning to spray at the flag leaf and then come back in at the fungicide, we would really recommend that to get the most bang for your buck, you spray as soon as that flag leaf is starting to come out of the plant. These fungicides, some of them can get into the plant to be systemic and move into new growth. So when the flag leaf is out half an inch, get in that field, spray it, and then hopefully it'll be another 14 to 20 days depending on the temperature and the humidity until we start to get to the flower stage. And then the guy can come back in if he needs to and spray with his fusarium. The worst thing that can happen is that the flag leaf comes out and you decide that you're going to try and wait it out for the fusarium timing, and then the disease has just taken over your flag leaf. And so you come in with a late flag leaf application and 5 days later you're at your fusarium timing. And how frustrating is that for the grower and the agronomist and everybody involved, the company as well, because you know that you only got 4 or 5 days worth of protecting with your fungicide instead of that 14 to 21. No, I think that whether you're talking grower sprayer, a high clear, a traditional pool type sprayer, or airplane, they're as good as the thought put into the operation. And you can see great jobs by ground sprayers and airplanes, and you can see difficult jobs by plane and by ground. So if you're staying on the label water rates and spraying on a day that's not windy like today, anything can do a good job. And I think growers know more than anybody the best conditions to spray in, because they're out there in the field and they want to do a good job. They don't want to waste their money.